Don Mazzella here again for Small Business Digest. I read online about a company. Turns out it's an American company that specializes in Australia, which happens to be one of my favorite countries. And so I couldn't resist having Jaclyn join us. That's Glatzer. I'm Jaclyn Glatzer. She's with us today to talk about her company, and more importantly, she's also talking about lamb, which happens to be my favorite food. So the two naturally came together. Jaclyn, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
Jaclyn, first tell us a little bit about your personal company, your background, then a little bit about your company, and finally a website where people can learn more.
Absolutely. My work history goes back about 20 years. Most of my career, I have been running a food and beverage marketing agency in Atlanta, which is where I live. We do mainly business-to-business marketing for food and beverage brands, as well as some business-to-consumer marketing for those same brands. About 4 or 5 years ago, through one of the clients I had at the agency, working with the Australian Red Meat Board, Meat and Livestock Australia, coupled with my love of all things Australia, just like you, my partners and I came up with a proposition of how could we help make lamb more accessible to the American consumer. Through my work at the agency, I know that lamb is loved by United States consumers. In fact, it's grown exponentially during and since the pandemic in interest. And yet Americans are afraid of it. They're afraid to buy it. It can be expensive, potentially unapproachable. If you're not familiar how to cook it at home, you may stay away from it at the grocery store. And so the wonder was, what if we could do for lamb what turkey deli meat did for turkey and make it more just about special occasions, Easter, Christmas, Passover, and into a more approachable pre-cooked deli format. It was through that supposition that Aussie Select was born. We are doing the country's only lamb charcuterie or lamb deli meats. Most deli meat out there is beef, pork, turkey, there's chicken, but if you look at your deli counter, you will not find lamb until now. So we are launching 2 lamb hams, as well as a lamb pastrami, and the products are available as a whole roast that you can take home and cook for a Sunday dinner or for a holiday. They come pre-cooked. It's just a reheat in the oven. And we also are launching our first pre-slice line. It's a 4-ounce pre-sliced pack that you'll find hanging on the pegboard in your service deli alongside prosciutto and other high-end deli meats. So my background being marketing, I have transcended that into becoming the CEO of this exciting brand. And I have a fabulous team of meat industry experts, culinary experts, and other marketing experts that are helping me bring it to market. Our website is www.aussieselect.com.
Okay. For our radio audience, would you spell it out one time?
You bet. A-U-S as in Sam, S as in Sam, I-E, S as in Sam, E-L-E-C-T.com, AussieSelect.com. Our parent company is called World Select Cuts, but our brand is Aussie Select. And as you said, we are an American women-owned company. I am the CEO. Our CFO is also a female, and she is based in Australia. We procure 100% Australian lamb to make our products, which is why we boldly declare that on the front of the package. But we are further processing and manufacturing the items here in the United States with fantastic ingredients that we're procuring locally. We picked Australia as the country of origin, not only because I love Australia as a country. In fact, my daughter's name is Sydney. My dog's name is Taz. We are all in this household. But Australia, their lamb industry is climate neutral. It's an incredibly sustainable farming story. The animals are well taken care of. There's tons of ethics that run through that system. The farmers are fantastic people, and we're really happy to be bringing their products here to market in a way that consumers can literally come home and crack open the pack and eat the product without any further preparation.
Well, because this is Small Business Digest, I want to talk about how you go about taking a new product and putting it out there. It's got to be an incredibly difficult job.
Now more than ever. We incorporated in December of 2019. So if you can imagine, in March of 2020, just 3 months later, the world became a very, very different place. The trajectory of the company was not at all what we had envisioned it to be when we all signed that paperwork on that December day. But the great thing about my partnership with my partners is that we're very nimble people that are able to make, what do they say, lemonade out of lemons, I guess you could say. So instead of forging into market like we had hoped to do when the world shut down, we took that year to really refine the concept, develop the brand, get the product formula right, bring the right additional people into the company to help us get there. So it was at that time that we brought in our corporate chef, who has been instrumental in getting the formula exactly where it needs to be across all of the products. It's a big charge taking something that you just test out in your kitchen as an idea and an artisan product, and then be able to extrapolate that to making it in a large production facility at 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 plus pounds. It's not just as simple as a multiply this by 40,000 and that's how much agave syrup you need or something. There's lots of testing and processes that have to go. Of course, working with the USDA, figuring out the right packaging, finding your right production partners that are properly sized for you, and also have that entrepreneurial spirit in pioneering a new category. No one has done this before. So conversations with packers and producers to say, this is what we want to do, and not have them laugh you off the phone. What? Lamb? Do people even want that? So finding the right people, that's what we did that year during the pandemic. And then when things started to get back into business, we were really well positioned to kind of turn on the manufacturing juggernaut and start to output product. We had some early hits with hotels and country clubs that were taking in the product from a food service side, and are, as I said, about to launch the pre-sliced retail product, which will be hanging on the pegboards in grocery stores as early as April.
Wow. Well, let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about things in progression. How do you go about finding a manufacturer? You know, that's a question when we do our surveys. People always ask, well, I have to find a manufacturer. How do I do it?
Working the network. I worked a lot of LinkedIn. I worked a lot of relationships. You ask a question, someone else asks the question of someone else, and then all of a sudden it circles back. At one point, I had an Excel spreadsheet tree to help me keep track of where my relationships were coming from, because I feel it's really important, especially as an entrepreneur, a small business, to always know how to pay it back to people who have helped you along your journey. So I want to be able to look back 5 years from now and see the folks that I'm working with and trace it back to where that lead came from. So I have this crazy spreadsheet of, I talked to this person, they introduced me to this person who introduced me to this person and said, I should talk to Joan. And now I'm working with Joan. So to be able to go back to the first person and say, I just want you to know how helpful that was. Working the network is incredibly important. And then also being able to really articulate your value proposition and sell yourself and sell the product idea. That makes manufacturers listen. They get phone calls all the time. Manufacturing in this country, especially in food systems right now, is jam-packed. There's not a lot of line time available. There's not a lot of equipment that's just sitting idle, not pumping out product. And so to get a manufacturer who has the right equipment for you to listen to you takes guts, and it takes being able to really succinctly sell your idea, sell yourself, and make them believe that they can be a part of something great. I did ask the USDA to provide me a list of manufacturing partners. That did not yield a lot of, I got a spreadsheet of about 20,000 names. It was not very tenable to use. So that was not an avenue that worked for me. An avenue that did work is I identified the type of equipment I needed, and I found the folks that were making that equipment, and I asked them who they sold the equipment to. So I asked them for their customer list, so I knew where that equipment was sitting, and I could contact those people because then I already knew they had what they needed in order to make my products. So that was an avenue that was successful.
Well, that's incredibly clever, asking the manufacturer. That I haven't
Yes.
heard of that before.
Yes. So for our slice product, for example, we need a very specific type of slicing equipment that could do what we needed it to do. And so we were able to identify the manufacturer of that equipment and work with them to figure out where that equipment now lives in the United States.
Okay, so you now have the ability to manufacture. You now have the formula. Um, I'm going to back up a minute. Um, where did you get the financing? Did you self-finance or did you get angels? What did you do?
We are entirely self-financed at this point. We now have 8 members of the company. But because we were an R&D project initially with the proposition that we could drive awareness and preference of Australian lamb with the development of this product, we did get co-financing from the commodity board for Australian lamb back in Australia. They helped provide some initial R&D funding to get the project off the ground. So that's an investment that they make on behalf of the farmers, and it's funding that's available to anyone who has a great R&D project that can help support the Australian lamb industry. So we worked with them to kick off the initial research and development, to fund our focus groups, our formula developments, our initial marketing materials and brand work. Of note, they will not just give you the money. You have to pony up at least half of the money that you need. In our case, it was a bit more than that. So between the self-financing and the help from Meat and Livestock Australia, we got ourselves up off the ground.
Wow, congratulations. Yeah, I guess 2 or 3 years ago, I was at the Fancy Food Show, and there was a group of lamb people offering it from Australia. So at the time, well, I just love lamb, but they were really demonstrating how good lamb could be. So anyway,
I'll have to get you some samples of the products. They're quite, we say, delicious with a capital DELI, delicious.
I'm dying for it. I've got to try it. But let's go on further. Now, you got your product, you have your manufacturing. How do you go about breaking into stores or country clubs or whatever? Because that's another thing that. But before you do that, your website again for other people, please.
Yes, we are www.aussieselect.com. That's Aussie, like Australia, AUSSIE, select, SELECT.com.
Okay, so now you're set now. How do you break into country clubs and supermarkets?
So I think that's the other really important part to build a business of any size, including a small business, is to make sure that whatever market you're looking to break into, that either yourself or your partners have integral knowledge of that industry. So I'm really fortunate that the partners that we launched with really round out the skill set needed for a product line. I mentioned my CFO in Australia. She handles all of the financial part of this and was instrumental in working through that relationship with Meat and Livestock Australia for their co-funding. Her business partner in Australia is our chief product officer. He does all of the raw procurement of the product, the spec, making sure that we can adhere to the claims that we're trying to make on package, including our antibiotic-free, no added hormones, the credentials that we know that consumers are interested in today. Of note, all Australian lamb is halal certified. So he also helps us maintain that halal integrity through the chain so we can be a halal certified product here in the United States. Our corporate chef got the product where it needed to be. My chief marketing officer's knowledge is in brand building and positioning, but the rest of it is where I came in. So my background is relationship marketing with food service and retail. So as far as your answer to how do you break into country clubs, relationships, and it's knowing the industry. That's how I have spent the bulk of my 20+ year career, is in helping other brands do just what we're now doing with Aussie Select. So my agency Summit that I run in Atlanta works with large companies to help them navigate food service and retail and get their products to market. So after 20 years of doing that for others, I'm now turning around and helping to do it for myself and my partners. So understanding how to bring a product to market in food service. What does the distribution landscape look like? Who are the key players? What type of sales force do you need to support you? Is it a broker network or a direct sales force? Who are those people? And again, tapping the folks that you know for help and advice along the way. Some of my key circle includes editors who write about the industry all of the time, chefs who are building menus all of the time, researchers who are reporting on the trends and looking at data. And I can call them at a moment's notice and get input and insights from them. I sent out a text message this morning, and my texts have been filled with contact information and names, and have you thought of this? And you should call this person. We all do that for each other all the time. So in terms of breaking into food service, for us and how we've done it, it's really tapping the knowledge that I've built in my other career through. And then again, on the retail side, same thing. We're really fortunate. We met, well, I have a relationship from a previous experience that I had, who is now leading a spectacular sales force at a retail broker. And she really wanted to woman help me out. And so she introduced the line to her team and really fought for them to bring it in and represent us. And now we have a bevy of, I want to say, 100 salespeople across the country that are helping put the products in front of Publix and Costco and HEB and Albertsons, because you need to know how to ask for help. And I can't do it on my own.
Well, I'm going to stop and ask you a question. What made you jump from the agency side to running your own company? What made you decide to do it?
So I haven't jumped. I'm still doing both. I actually do that. I'm doing this. And then I also own a conference, Tell Chefs. So I tell people that ask for my help. I have 3 jobs. So I don't know if I can take on anything else right now. So I haven't made the full jump. But the evolving of my career to doing this is I have a healthy appetite for risk. I'm an optimist, and I really believed in the product. I also have a really hard time saying no. So when one of my partners brought the idea to me and we started to talk about it, it just felt right. And I knew that we had the right team in place to be able to make it successful. So I come from a strong family of entrepreneurs. Both my grandfather and my father run a family business and have for the entire my life. My stepfather has been in multiple owned businesses his entire career. So watching them and the way that you can really drive your own career success by owning and running your own business has been incredibly inspirational. I also love flexibility. So the ability to take a half day Friday, not really need to report to anybody about that, is incredibly compelling too. I like to carve my own path. Of course, as we all know, it means working Saturdays, Sundays, and sometimes you never turn off. But the ability to turn off when I need to and not have to tell anybody else about it, I love.
Well, then the other question is, you have a family. How do they integrate into your life?
In a really spectacular way. Everybody is super supportive. I got the opportunity, you mentioned the Fancy Food Show. There's another show that we have done as well called IDDBA, which is the International Dairy Deli Bakery Association show, and it happened to be in Atlanta last summer. And I was able to bring my daughter to help work at the booth. She's 11 years old. I put her in the t-shirt and let her watch mom do what she does. I walked her around the show to show her other new products that were coming out and what we were really trying to build as a family. I don't think that my children fully understand the scope of everything happening, but they know the product, they know the brand. They know when mom throws on her "I love lamb pastrami" t-shirt that something is going on with Aussie Select today. They're used to sitting in the car at carpool and listening to me take conference calls. That sometimes I need to take a 10 o'clock p.m. phone call at bedtime because I need to talk to Australia. So I think it's really fantastic to be able to demonstrate to them how to build something from zero to something. And we visualize what the future might be, what this could mean for us as they grow up, and where we could be in 10 years.
Well, we have to end quickly, but first, your website again, and what would you like to leave our audience with?
We are www.aussieselect.com, and you can find us on Instagram as well at Aussie Select, and are building that audience every single day. So please come and follow us in our journey there. What do I want to leave you with? I guess we're all in this together. Small business is hard. There is absolutely nothing about this that is easy. I have a big smile on my face. I am an incredible optimist, and so when things get hard, I just remember that the next day, as my boyfriend says, the pillow can solve a lot of problems. Sometimes you just need a good night's sleep and it brings you a fresh perspective. I tell people we take 3 steps forward and 2.99 steps back every single day. And that's okay because we're building something. And as long as it's a 0.1 step forward, it's better than going backwards. So yeah, anyone is welcome to reach out to me. I love to have entrepreneur friends. I love to share resources. Eventually, I'm sure we will be in a position to start raising money. So please reach out to me if you're passionate about lamb, about food, the industry, or you think you can help. We are not shy about asking for that.
Well, on that note, we have to say, unfortunately, thank you for a very illuminating time. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity.